Welcome, everybody. Today, we're going to continue in chapter 25, Chav Hey, and it is really going to be interesting. We're really going into details. So let's start. You have the mimer? Yeah, excellent. Now we can understand protein and spheres, the parts of the 10 spheres, the Atzilus, this is really important. Now we always were saying that it's so important to learn the parts. Well, now we're going to learn the parts of the 10 spheres of the world of Atzilus. Dahainu, this means Biyaridus Ha'er, when the light comes down, Mechitzenius Nehi, the Arachanpin, from the external aspects of the 10 spheres called Nehi, Netzach Yisod, which are the last three. So basically, you have the three cognitive spheres, which is insight, comprehension, and focus. And then you have the emotions, which are for the person themselves, which is love, fear, and beauty, which is a balance of both. And then Nesach Yisod is in relationship to the outside, which is the emotions of winning, of recognizing the truth, together having gratitude. And Yisod is the idea of a platform and attachment to others, a platform for one's own emotions and personality, and attachment ability to attach to others. So that's Netzach Yisod. So these three external aspects, the Arachanpim of the dream face, of the large face, which is basically the great vision for the world, the want of what God wants from the world. And it goes ba'aba ve'ema, into mother and father. Mother and father are the two first emotions of Atzilus. The reason why they're called mother and father is because they are like the metaphor of a mother and father. The father more is focused on what's the point, and the mother looks into the details. When you go traveling, your father asks you, "Did you take your passport?" And your mother asks you, "Did you take your toothbrush?" Going into the details. That's the difference between insight and comprehension. So that's Ab Chachma and Bina, Abba Ve'ema, father and mother. But we use the words father and mother because it's a metaphor which we can relate to. Just like a large face is a metaphor of a person with a dream. So when Arich Anpin motivates the insight and comprehension of Atzilus, and they basically, what we're going to say is there's different modes. There's different modes of the way the intellect of Atzilus functions. And according to those modes, at least three of them, we will know what's going to happen in the world. Because what God thinks, that's what motivates what he says, and what he says is what happens. Because we are inside God. Sometimes it's said the Abba ve'ema, that the mother and father, Milubashim Bizrayas de Arachanpin. Sometimes the arms of Arachanpin, that the mother and father are the clothes of the arms of Arachanpin. That's the idea of a puppet. The arms of Arachanpin go in and create two characters, mother and father. And then consequentially, the mother and father will behave because the driver is the arms of Arachanpin. So it's going to be a very passionate mother and father. And I was just going to explain there's something else. Do not make a mistake with a different concept, which is called the head of the king is fixed up by chesed and vura, kindness and strictness. Because that is something else. That's the head of Arachanpin, is tak Cain is fixed up with kindness and strictness, that the Yemen of the old days. Because we learned last week, and I said last week, we need to repeat this again and again, so we're clear on it. The chesed that the Yemen begalgalte, chulu canal, because the kindness of Atik Yemin gets enclosed in the head, in the skull, and the strictness of Atik Yemin gets enclosed in the liquid around the brain. And that's what we may mean when we say in the Sifri Kabbalah, the head of the king is fixed up by kindness and strictness. We mean the head of Arich Anpin. We don't mean the of Atzilus. We mean the head of Arich Anpin is fixed up by the Chesed and Gvura of Atik Yemin. The kindness of Atik Yemin is in the skull, and the strictness of Atik Yemin is in the liquid around the brain. I mean, I don't mean there's no literal brain. It's just a metaphor. Achine Yudua. Now, what we've just said is in the world of Atzilus, sometimes the Chachma Bina of Atzilus is like like their puppets. The father and mother of Atzilus, which is the first two spheres of Atzilus, they're really puppets of the arms of Archanpin. Achine Yudua Binyan Kach Ma, the Chachma, Ma Intimatza. It's known that the power of Ma, of what? In other words, to define, of definition, the power of definition of insight, ma'ayin tematze, comes from something ma'ayin, which is abstract. Bebechinas ayin, it is abstract. Va'bina nikra yesh, and comprehension is called concrete. V'er v'shefa, the ayin, the chachma, and the light and the shefa. Shefa means sustenance. It's like the difference between electricity and gas. Gas you can transport over a long distance because the gas itself moves. Light, when electricity gets weaker over a distance, just like a flashlight over a distance gets weaker. But that gas doesn't get weaker over a distance. That's why we're saying that the intangible, the Ein Chachma, the intangible abstract insight has light and it has shefa. So both it behaves like light, but it also behaves like sustenance, like meir v'nimshach v'chinas hasagadvina. It shines and it actually moved. So the light shines, but there's also nimshach. It's moved. The shefa is moved into the something physical that moves into the comprehension of the left brain of comprehension. And the way something moves from abstract into concrete, it's like that's the way something moves from the right brain to the left brain. Nikra train rain misparshin. And the right brain and the left brain, which is the same as the mother and father, they're considered like two friends that don't separate. They dwell together. And this is Nekudat HaChachma. This is what we say, that the point, that the abstract point of wisdom, of insight, Shemavrik Kabarak, behaves like a flash in the sky, like lightning. It's like some idea comes from higher than intellect. The world calls intellect understanding. So it goes higher than understanding. The ability, the flash of insight comes from the power to think. Shenikra Chachma Stima, the Arachanpin, it's called the hidden Chachma of the large face. And that hidden Chachma, hidden insight, flashes into something concrete, or allows wisdom to insight to flash, and become something concrete in comprehension. Chachma Na'alma. Hidden Chachma is also considered hidden wisdom, which is the source which gives out all intellect. Ma'ain, from abstract. The Nikra Maskil. And this ability to come up with ideas, it's called maskil in Hebrew. Kedua, like it's known. Sha'amar, And this is the meaning of what it's written. There Abba Yenik Mimazal Aches, the light of the insight, Yoinek takes sustenance from the eighth muzzle of the 13, from the 13 attributes of compassion, Yud Gimel Midas Rachamim, V'Noitzer and the Oisius Sinner. Oh, it's called V'Noitzer. V'Noitzer in Hebrew has the same letters, or very similar letters, to the word sinner, which means a pipe. Ketziner dak, like a very thin pipe. Kach b'chinas sa'ares. So actually, the hairs, the muzzle achai, aches, of the eighth muzzle, hu b'chinas sameach shemaskil kanal latzmiach ma'ain kol minei haskalas. It's like something growing, and it makes all sorts of ideas grow. Vayenika hu bechinas agdolas meichin, the Abba. The idea of Yenika means when a child is nurturing milk from the mother, what is actually happening is that they're building, growing the brains of the right brain, Magdalas meichin de'ema, and growing the brains of the left brain. And the truth is, when the child is drinking the mother's milk, it's actually getting sustenance. Mimazal al Yud Gimel, the left brain is getting energy from the 13th attribute of mercy, Vinaka. It's called Vinaka. Base Mazalos, right? And the right brain is getting sustenance from the eighth attribute of mercy, Base Mazalos Halalu. And these two mazales on from the Gvura side. I mean, we said the first six are on the Chesed side, and then there's the truth, the MS is in the middle, and then there's six on the Gvura side. So the Mazel Elyon, the highest Mazel, the highest feeding like pipe, Mazel Atachtein, and the lowest Mazel, Hein Sharsha Amechin Dava Ve'ema, they are actually the source of the inside brain, the father brain, and the mother brain, which is the comprehension brain. We only call them mother and father because by men usually the inside is more dominant, and by women the comprehension is more dominant. And basically in the actual liquid of the brain, which is the power to think, there is the source to be able to feed the brain of Havana, which is actually inside brain. We're going to say the understanding brain. And also there's the source for the brain, which is called the Tfisa brain, which is the grasping brain, meaning the comprehension, where a person grasps, holds on to an idea. Vasaga is understanding. I mean comprehension. They call the brain of the father and brain of the mother, Kidua, like it's known. Just like the brain of Bina, of comprehension, is the brain of grasping and comprehending. It receives from the on the abstract. The Me'ach HaChachma receives from the abstract power of the brain of insight. Kach v'sharsham, however, in the source, b'yachad, beis mazalos, the Abba Vema, together, both of these mazalos of father and mother, which are actually called the two feeding straws that feed them, are called v'neitzar, is the eighth one, v'naka, and the 13th one, chulu. V'yudua shegam kesha mazalos nikra saires. It's also known that another name for the mazales, which is the 13 attributes of comprehension, of compassion, they're also called hairs. Why? the Arachanpin. So basically, those hairs are fed by the by by the abundance of the hidden brain of Arachanpin. That means the liquid around the brain is the brain of Adam Amprin, Arachanpin. And when that liquid of the brain is extremely abundant, there's basically pressure that causes leakage in a good way from this brain of Arachanpin, and that leakage ends up feeding hairs. However, in the source, in the skull of the brain, which is actually higher than the Maguf Pnimis HaMeichasima, which is actually higher than even than the liquid around the brain, Shalakach Nivku, and that's why the hairs are basically from the extra pressure that's going on over there. There's a spillage into of something extra, which becomes facial hair. Just like you have a leather water container that they used to have, hunters that they used to have, and when it's really, really full with water, the water is going to leak through the walls. So the same thing, so to insight, when the intellect is really strong, basically things fall off it. What do we mean? When a person's really intellectual, he says good jokes. And when he has these creative jokes, the actual source of those jokes actually are even higher than the intellect that the person than the intellectual person holds. In other words, when somebody's maxed out, sometimes they come up with the best things. So that's what's happening over here. When the person's intellect is maxed out, there's like leakage that happens, but that leakage may be even better than the other things. The Noivlas Chachma Shalmaila Torah L'Shvach. They say that when it comes to God's, that God also, the leakage that flows from the inside of divine insight is Torah L'Shvach, is actually Torah. Torah is also a leakage, but this is not. This shows on Torah L'Shvach and something really good. Dafka. Like it says in another place. Time Milas Inyan Sherish Yud Gimel Midas Arachmim. And that's why the source of the 13 attributes of mercy is really high. Shinikra B'Shem Yud Gimel Tikunei Dikna. They are called the 13 parts of the beard. In other words, the parts of the beard, when there's pressure and there's leakage of the 13 attributes of mercy, it ends up creating the beard of a person. Comes from the extra leakage of the hidden brain, of the liquid around the brain. With Kamesha Kosov, and it's like it's written, V'yaver Hashem al panav. When Moses said the 13 attributes of compassion, God passed over his face. Vayikra, and he called out Hashem, Hashem, God, God, Shehula Mailam Ameches Tima, Shenikra Tam, V'chachma Kamusal Aratzen. Basically, the hidden brain is basically the reason for the want of God, and really the 13 attributes of compassion are really it's something really higher. V'nikra gamkein seichel anelam kol haroin. And it's also called a hidden thinking from any ra'ayan, any thought, or place hachma, or the wonders of insight. And therefore, according to this, when it says that the father feeds from the tube of the eighth muzzle, it's actually higher than the hidden brain. Why? Because of this principle that the extras come from the high pressure, which makes it come from a higher level. In other words, the jokes of a very intelligent person are better than his intelligence himself. And that's why there's a saying that everything depends on the muzzle, on the straw. Afilu Sefer Torah b'heichel, it's written, and even the Sefer Torah in its holding ark, it's also dependent on the muzzle. Really, this statement is a hint. Shubechinas yichud da Abba v'ema. It's a hint of the unification of the father and mother, mata, in the wisdom and comprehension in this world, lamata, that means below in this world. The kudah da hachman b'heichel da mina. The point of insight of wisdom is in the chamber of comprehension. Ma'ain layesh, from the intangible to the tangible canal. And I think Venikra, I'm looking for a good place to stop. Um, 1 second. Yeah, I'll go a little bit more. The world is, it says in Sefer Yetzirah, which is the book written by Abraham, that the world is created with a book and a story. The book and the story, Shenikra Sefer Torah b'heichel. It's the same idea as the that the Torah scroll inside its chamber, Kidua, like it's known. That's the idea of insight being in the chamber of comprehension. And this another state of the world being in is much higher than what we said before. The Abba Ve'ema Mabishal Israel Tarachanpim, that the father and mother are basically clothes or puppets for the arms of Arachanpin. Now, Mashakosov and what we wrote, Bechinas Nehida Arachanpin, that the lowest levels of Arachanpin, Shemalbishim Ba'ava Ve'ema, are enclosed in the father and mother. So he's going to basically, we're going to stop over here, and what we've done today is it was explained that the mindset of the world can be in different modes. It could be on the lowest mode, where it's just transactional, just the lowest level of the long faces, the last three levels, just the transactional winning, recognizing truth, attachment, basic things. That's what's motivating the intellect of the world. So then the entire world is going to function on a very transactional level. Then what could happen is more of an inspirational level, where it's the kindness and strictness of and balance is what's inside the puppets of the mother and father. So then that thinking of the world is going to be more inspirational, not just transactional, busy, doing one thing, getting the next thing done. Then the world is going to be more searching for inspiration when the world is in that mode. And then there's the highest one, which we're speaking about, where the father and mother of Atzilus is now connecting up to the 13 attributes of mercy. And then what you're going to see in the world is novelty. You're going to see innovation. You're going to see new things happening. It may be innovation not only in inventions, but it will be on a humanistic level. There's going to be innovation. There'll be greater levels of kindness in the world. So what are we seeing at different times? Is the world only being transacted? Because this can change all the time. It can fluctuate. So are you seeing the spirit of the world as being transactional, Are you seeing, and things are just getting done and people are busy? That would be the Nahi. Are It's what's powering the mother and father of the world, of the on a spiritual sense. Are we seeing inspiration in the world? Is that what's going on? Or are we seeing a novelty on a human level, on an things are being invented, new things are happening, or new levels of human connection are being revealed. So then we're saying that the father and mother are receiving from the 13 attributes of mercy, specifically from the eighth one and from the 13th one. And that's the summary of today.